growing 5% year over year, led by an array of new modes, rewards, and vehicles for GTA Online, as well as ongoing demand for GTA Plus memberships. Rockstar Games continues to expand the possibilities for engagement with the series through ongoing development of its 5M creator platform. Red Dead Redemption 2 also outperformed, with net bookings growing 23% over last year. Rockstar Games continues to support Red Dead Online with a series of rewards that engage their community further. Zynga outperformed during the period, and we're pleased that their momentum is continuing to fiscal 2026. Peak delivered fantastic results. Match Factory exceeded our expectations, driven by first-class live ops execution and the introduction of Mission Center, a limited-time event that drove significant player engagement. Net bookings grew meaningfully over last quarter, and the title is generating profits. Net bookings for Toon Blast grew 7% over last year, primarily due to the introduction of the Cannon Fest event. We're also thrilled the title achieved its largest quarter of net bookings since Zynga acquired Peak in 2020. Rollic's newest hit, Color Block Jam, is scaling rapidly and is currently a top 10 downloaded game and among the top grossing titles in the US Apple App Store. In just 4 months of operation, the title has become profitable and is making an impressive contribution to our mobile net bookings. We're encouraged to see stabilization in Empires & Puzzles. Small Giant improved the title's in-game economy to support faster player progression and develop fun new features based on player feedback, like Instant Power Summon, Hero Coach, and Visiting Outfitter. Zynga has numerous titles in development and soft launch that we're eager to bring to market worldwide. Our direct-to-consumer business delivered record performance as our teams continue to launch new offers, events, and enhance personalization, which are driving better conversion. While we've been implementing D2C in our titles for some time, we do believe there's an even greater opportunity to expand this highly accretive channel given recent beneficial court rulings. As we approach the 3-year anniversary of our acquisition of Zynga, we're extremely pleased that the label has become an integral part of our company. Zynga's core franchises are strong, and we're energized by the team's unique ability to launch hits in a highly competitive mobile market, demonstrating further the effectiveness of their multi-studio approach and continued excellence in live ops. In closing, with a player-first approach and a deep commitment to quality, we strive to create the best entertainment experiences for our global communities and to redefine our art form. As we bring our exciting lineup to market, including Grand Theft Auto 6 in fiscal 2027, we expect to achieve record levels of net bookings that will establish a new baseline for our business and set us on a path of enhanced profitability. I'll now turn the call over to Carl.
Thanks, Strauss. I'd like to thank our teams for another strong quarter and for laying the groundwork for this exciting next chapter in our company's history. As Strauss mentioned, we are extremely optimistic about our upcoming pipeline, which includes approximately 38 titles through fiscal 2028. During fiscal 2026, we plan to release 13 titles, including 4 within the immersive core category. This includes Mafia: The Old Country, which 2K and Hangar 13 will introduce on August 8th. This linear narrative-driven game is a premium experience in the vein of early Mafia titles, set against the stunning, authentic background of 1900 Sicily. Pre-orders are off to a strong start following the debut of the first official gameplay trailer at PAX East last week, and we're excited for its upcoming launch. Additionally, 2K and Gearbox will launch Borderlands 4 on September 12th. Last month, during the PlayStation State of Play, our team shared an extended look at the action-packed gameplay coming in the title. Players were treated to a first look at 2 of 4 new Vault Hunters as they tore a path through a secret black site in Terminus Range, showcasing the destructive power of an updated gear system. The Borderlands community reacted very positively, with the game trending on X and becoming one of the most wishlisted games on Steam. 2K and Gearbox will also release Borderlands 4 for the Switch 2 in the future. And as always, we will release the next iterations of our industry-leading annual sports franchises, NBA 2K and WWE 2K. We also plan to bring to market 5 mobile titles this fiscal year, including WWE 2K for Netflix in the fall, and we're launching 4 new iterations of prior releases, including the recent release of Civilization VII VR for MetaQuest 3 and 3S, as well as Civilization VII for Switch 2. Our labels will continue to provide new content and experiences that drive
what are the other
engagement
two?
and recurrent consumer spending across many of our key offerings.
People are thinking
Looking
one of them
ahead,
is going to
we
be
currently
GTA
expect
4.
to deliver 25 titles throughout fiscal 2027 and 2028, including 17 immersive core releases, including Grand Theft Auto 6 and 5 sports simulation games, 4 mobile games, and 4 new iterations of previously released titles. In closing,
Interesting.
we look forward to delivering our
Interesting.
groundbreaking titles, which we believe will enable us to achieve a period of meaningful long-term growth and shareholder returns. I'll now turn the call over to Lainey.
Thanks, Carl, and good afternoon, everyone. We delivered an outstanding finish to fiscal 2025 with broad-based strength across our company. Throughout the year, we positioned our business for sustainable long-term growth by releasing new hit titles and experiences across our labels, advancing the development of many key releases we plan to launch in the coming quarters, successfully acquiring Gearbox, and continuing to implement our previously announced cost reduction program. Through these actions, we are setting our business up for a strong multi-year period of growth and enhanced profitability, and I'd like to thank our teams for their passion and dedication. Turning to our results, we delivered fourth quarter net bookings of $1.58 billion, which was the top of our guidance range of $1.48 billion, $1.58 billion.
That's how
This
casual
reflected
she says
better
the
than
word
expected
billion.
performance
Like,
from
what the
NBA
fuck, dude?
2K25,
So
Zynga
fucked
led
up.
by Toon Blast, our hyper-casual mobile portfolio,
Said it
and
3
Match
times like it
Factory,
was nothing.
the Red Dead Redemption series, and Grand Theft Auto Online. Recurrent consumer spending growth was phenomenal, increasing 14% over last year and accounting for 77%
These motherfuckers need to get their
of net
shit together. They
bookings.
see how popular
NBA
Red Dead
2K
is.
grew over 40%,
We need to get
while
some
Grand Theft
more
Auto
support for
Online
Red
and
Dead
mobile
Online.
both
That's all I'm
increased
saying.
mid-single digits.
We need
All
more
of these
updates for Red
businesses
Dead
greatly
Online.
exceeded our forecast.
That's
During the
free
quarter, we
fucking.
launched
It's
Sid
not
Meier's
free money. It's
Civilization
like labor
7,
and shit. But
PGA Tour 2K25,
come on, that's
and
a cash cow
WWE
right there in
2K25.
itself.
GAAP net revenue increased 13% to $1.58 billion. Cost of revenue declined 16% to $779 million, primarily due to lower impairment of acquired intangibles in the current year, as well as timing of development credits. Operating expenses increased by 44% to $4.6 billion due to an impairment expense of $3.6 billion related to goodwill and acquired intangible assets. On a management basis, operating expenses rose 3% year over year, which was above our guidance due to higher development costs for titles not technologically feasible. For fiscal 2025, we achieved net bookings of $5.65 billion, which was also the top of our guidance range of $5.55 to $5.65 billion. Recurrent consumer spending exceeded our outlook, growing 7% and accounted for 80% of net bookings. NBA 2K grew high teens, mobile increased mid-single digits, and Grand Theft Auto Online declined modestly. Operating cash flow was an outflow of $45 million compared to our forecast of an outflow of $200 million due to timing of tax payments and lower development costs. We spent approximately $169 million in capital expenditures, which was above our forecast of $140 million, primarily due to higher game technology expenses. GAAP net revenue rose 5% to $5.63 billion, while cost of revenue decreased 17% to $2.6 billion, primarily due to lower impairment of acquired intangibles in the current year, as well as timing of development credits. Operating expenses increased 28% to $7.5 billion due to the impairment charges that I mentioned previously that we recorded during our fourth quarter. On a management basis, operating expenses rose 11% year over year, slightly above our guidance due to higher development costs for titles not technologically feasible. Today, we are providing our initial outlook for fiscal 2026. We project net bookings to range from $5.9 billion to $6 billion, which represents 5% growth over fiscal 2025 at the midpoint. Largest contributors to net bookings are expected to be NBA 2K, the Grand Theft Auto series, Toon Blast, Borderlands 4, Match Factory, Empires & Puzzles, Words with Friends, the Red Dead Redemption series, and Zynga Poker. We expect recurrent consumer spending to be flat compared to fiscal 2025 and to represent 76% of net bookings. Our recurrent consumer spending forecast assumes high single-digit growth for NBA 2K and declines from mobile and Grand Theft Auto Online. We expect the net bookings breakdown from our labels to be roughly 45% Zynga, 39% 2K, and 16% Rockstar Games. We expect operating cash flow to be approximately $130 million, and we plan to deploy approximately $140 million of capital expenditures for game technology and office buildouts. We expect GAAP net revenue to range from $5.95 to $6.05 billion, and cost of revenue to range from $2.52 to $2.55 billion. Our total operating expenses are expected to range from $3.78 to $3.8 billion. On a management basis, we expect operating expense growth of approximately 3% year over year, which is largely due to higher marketing expenses. Now moving on to our guidance for the fiscal first quarter. We project net bookings to range from $1.25 to $1.3 billion compared to $1.22 billion in the first quarter last year. The largest contributors to net bookings are expected to be NBA 2K, the Grand Theft Auto series, Toon Blast, Color Block Jam, Match Factory, Empires & Puzzles, Words with Friends, the Red Dead Redemption series, and Zynga Poker. We project recurrent consumer spending to increase by approximately 7%, which assumes strong double-digit growth for NBA 2K, flat results for mobile, and a modest decline for Grand Theft Auto Online. Our release slate for the quarter includes 2 new offerings of Civilization VII, including its VR launch in April and its upcoming launch on Switch 2 in June. We expect GAAP net revenue to range from $1.35 to $1.4 billion and cost of revenue to range from $544 to $562 million. Operating expenses are planned to range from $908 to $918 million. On a management basis, operating expenses are expected to grow by approximately 2% year over year, primarily driven by higher development costs. In closing, our core businesses are showing strength into fiscal 2026, and our long-term outlook continues to be positive. Fiscal 2027 represents a massive inflection point in our business that our teams have worked long and hard for, one that we believe will significantly enhance our multi-year financial profile. We are confident that this will be an exciting period for our many stakeholders, from our colleagues to our players, industry partners, and shareholders, and we appreciate all your support along the way. Thank you. I'll now turn the call back to Strauss.
Thanks, Lainey and Carl. On behalf of our entire management team, I'd like to thank our colleagues for delivering another outstanding year and for building an incredibly sound foundation, creatively, financially, and culturally, as we enter this new inflection point for Take-Two's growth and continued success. To our shareholders, I want to express our appreciation for your continued support. We'll now take your questions. Operator?
Thank you. And we will now begin the question and answer session. If you have dialed in and would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand and join the queue. If you would like to withdraw your question, simply press star 1 a second time. If you are called upon to ask your question and are listening via speakerphone on your device, please pick up your handset and ensure that your phone is not on mute when asking your question. Again, it is star 1 if you would like to join the queue.
Can anybody ask a question?
And our first question comes from the line of Doug Creutz with TD Cowen. Your line is open. We did lose connection with Mr. Creutz. We will move to our next question. Eric Handler with Roth Capital. Your line is open.
Imagine that.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the question. First, I thought it was very interesting with all the industry discussion that's been going on about maybe prices for games going up to $80. You chose a different tack with Mafia and doing a $50, $60 price SKU. Can you maybe talk about what went into that decision, and do you see future game releases sort of having a variable pricing along a wide range scale?
So thanks, Eric. We've always had variable pricing, and the rubric that we employ is one of delivering way more value to consumers than what we charge. That's our job. We aim to make the best entertainment on earth and bring that to all consumers wherever they are. And we need to deliver value in so doing. So that's really how we look at it. In the case of Mafia: The Old Country, we think it's extraordinary. It looks amazing. And we want to get it into as many hands as we possibly can. And I think our view is that if you create a huge hit and everyone wants it and everyone buys it, the revenue is going to take care of itself.
Yo, I love
Okay.
that. Yo,
And then as a
geez,
follow-up, I
I
guess
don't
for
know,
Rainey, maybe
man.
a little of accounting. The $3.5 billion goodwill
I think
impairment,
we're gonna be surprised
I
by GTA
assume
6's price
was
either
related
way.
to Zynga in some form. I know it's mainly accounting issues here, but is there anything structurally changing with Zynga?
Hey, our
Eric, we
internet
haven't
shut out before the
discussed
call started. We're
which
just
of our
listening.
reporting units
Imagine your
the
internet
impairment was
shitting out
from,
or your
but it
connection
was a
shitting out
partial
when you're about to be
impairment of one
on
of
the
our units,
phone with Strauss
and it's
Zelnick.
a result of updating
Fuck
long-term
that, dude. I don't
expectations,
feel as
and that's
bad
something
anymore.
that we are required to test annually or whenever the indicators of the impairment arise. And this is something that we would do all the time, based on how our forecasts are updated.
Okay, thanks.
And our next question comes from the line of Douglas Creutz with TD Cowen. Your line
He's
is
back.
open.
Hey, sorry about that. I fat fingered my first attempt.
Oh, he's back.
Just looking at it from a high level, the last period of peak performance for your business, you were able to reach low to mid 20% operating margins in the wake of the success of Red Dead 2 and into the pandemic. Just wondering if anything about the business or the industry has changed structurally, such that when your current pipeline reaches fruition, you would not be able to reach those margin levels again. Thank you.
Someone needs to ask about Red Dead Online.
There's no reason why we wouldn't be able to reach those margins. That is, how we've been building the business and working on the cost reduction programs and being more efficient, working to move to those margins as we build our scale. As we've mentioned, the gross margins are definitely hampered by the increase in the development costs for the titles, but we've been doing a lot of structural things within the business to offset those costs, and you'll see that in our expenses being reduced this year and seeing those margins coming down.
Great, thank you.
And our next question comes from the line of Colin Sebastian with Baird. Your line is open.
Thanks. Appreciate the questions. Have a couple. I guess first, the mobile segment performance looks impressive relative to the broader mobile gaming space. So helping you could maybe drill down on that a bit in terms of what's working in this environment. That could be customer acquisition, retention, or game mechanics. And then maybe some of the background of why the segment wouldn't necessarily be positioned to grow again this fiscal year. Thank you.
You're right. The mobile gaming segment's a challenging one broadly. Creating new mobile hits is incredibly difficult. And I think right now, Zynga is the only company in the space that is regularly creating new native mobile hits, most recently with Match Factory and Color Block Jam, both of which are profitable already. So we feel really good about what's going on. How's that happening? It's happening because we have incredibly talented creative people, incredibly talented publishing folks, and very specifically the team at Peak and the team at Rollic are doing a great job, along with many other studios at Zynga.
And given the outstanding results that we saw from a lot of our top titles in fiscal 2025, some of those are mature titles that have been out for many years.
We don't need to be yelling.
We expect that there may be some moderation of trends for those titles in fiscal 2026, and that's what's affecting that business into next year.
Okay, thank you.
And our next question comes from the line of Chris Scholl with UBS. Your line is open.
Great, thank you. You mentioned a new baseline for the business on net bookings once GTA 6 launches in fiscal 27. In the past, I know you pointed to $8 billion of annual bookings and over $1 billion of cash generation once the pipeline scaled. Appreciate there's been a number of shifts since that guidance was given, but is it fair that your long-term assumptions for the business haven't changed? And as you think about the sustainability of performance post GTA 6's console release, can you help us think through some of the key drivers in your mind? Thank you.
I'll take a shot at it. However, we do issue annual guidance for a reason. The farther away we are from the results, the harder it is to predict because things can change, whether that's internal or external. However, in terms of both our hopes and our expectations, we're more optimistic than we were before, and that optimism is reflected in our expectations for net bookings and our expectations for free cash flow. We just in the normal course would not typically guide to those numbers this far in advance. We have said that we expect sequential growth for both fiscal 26 and 27, and the guidance we just gave, of course, in the absence of the release of Grand Theft Auto 6, still reflects meaningful year-over-year top-line growth and reflects a new record for net bookings for this company.
Got it. Thank you. And if I can just fit one more in, going back to the first GTA 6 trailer, I believe you saw a meaningful uplift in engagement and monetization for GTA Online with it. Appreciate it's early, but are you seeing similar uplift right now from the second trailer? And could that potentially drive some upside versus your expectations for declines at GTA Online in fiscal 26? Thank you.
Well, remember in the fourth quarter, actually, we saw better news than expected for GTA Online, Red Dead Online, and GTA Plus. In aggregate, GTA Online and Red Dead Online were down a bit in the full fiscal year. In terms of your specific question about the trailer, too early to say whether there was an immediate result. Frankly, we're not super focused on 1 week or 10-day results. However, just as a reminder, and I think most everyone knows this, the trailer did set a record for views in its first 24 hours, 475 million. So essentially, once again, Rockstar Games broke the internet, and we feel really good about that and what that means for the upcoming release of GTA 6.
Great. Thank you very much.
They basically answered
And
my
our next
question about Red Dead
question comes
Online.
from the
Like,
line of
they
Andrew
brought
Mark
it up.
with Raymond James.
That
Your line
D-Time
is
ain't
open.
gonna be doing shit with that.
Hi, thanks for taking my questions. Maybe first on the Nintendo Switch. So pretty exciting news, with Borderlands 4 coming to the platform as well as Civ 7. So I guess as you've seen the reception and seen the technical specifications of that platform over the last little bit, how do you think, what are the boundaries of the Switch as a partner, a distribution partner for you? Is it something where the entire Take-Two lineup is eligible, or is it really just kind of an opportunistic thing for certain titles? And then I have a follow-up.
We're launching 4 titles with Nintendo Switch 2, and that's, I think, a bigger array of releases than we've ever offered before with a new Nintendo platform. Historically, being a third party in the Nintendo business has been a bit challenging. I think Nintendo's been very forthcoming in addressing that, and we're stepping up too because we have great optimism for the platform. In terms of what we would bring to any platform, we address it on a case-by-case basis. We obviously want to be where the consumers are, but we would not necessarily bring every title to every platform. There are also great catalog opportunities as well.
Understood. Thank you. And then maybe one on the mobile side. So Zynga, as you mentioned, on a little bit of a roll here. It seemed like Match Factory was one of the titles that kind of seemed like an inflection point. So I guess the question I would have is how much of the Match Factory playbook is instructive to future Zynga releases and current successes like Color Block Jam? And again, how much of that is kind of idiosyncratic to the title being launched? Thank you.
I think we learn from every release. We learn on the dev side, we learn on the marketing side. But remember, Color Block Jam came from a different studio than Match Factory. Match Factory came from Peak. Color Block Jam from Rollic. And I think Color Block Jam was really a reflection of an evolution of strategy at Rollic. However, all of our studios work together. That's the whole point of being one company. They have great creative independence. They do coordinate. They share best practices. Then Zynga itself obviously shares best practices with Take-Two, other labels at Take-Two. An example of that is our consumer database, which has many hundreds of millions of consumer records that we are able to address legally. And we can make the consumer database available in certain instances cross-label when it makes sense. We think that gives us an enormous competitive advantage. Another competitive advantage in launching a mobile title, of course, is that we have mobile customers. We can promote inside our ecosystem on a much more efficient basis than someone could outside of an ecosystem like ours. And there are very few companies that are close to as large as we are in the mobile space. None of that matters if you don't make something consumers want. And that's the trick. That's what's hard. That's hard in mobile. It's hard in console. And it's hard in the entertainment business broadly. But that's our job. Remember, our goal is to be the most creative, the most innovative, the most efficient company in the entertainment industry. All we care about around here is making big hits.
And our next question comes from the line of Matthew Cost with Morgan Stanley. Your line is open.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the questions. I guess just starting out on NBA 2K, I mean, another, really strong quarter for that franchise, second in a row. I guess, is there anything that you would call out that's driving that continued strength and even the acceleration versus what you saw last quarter? And then separately on the mobile side, when you think about the impact, the recent court rulings have had on the direct-to-consumer opportunity, will that allow you to execute the shift towards direct payments faster? Does it raise the ceiling long term? I mean, how should we think about the financial impact of that? Thank you.
So on the NBA side, look, I don't think there's anything specific that's been done in this quarter that would call out the performance of the NBA, which has been absolutely fantastic. I think it's more a reflection on the ongoing strategy and the ongoing strength of this particular iteration. The team at 2K and Visual Concepts put a significant effort every year. They put a significant effort into creating new innovations in the game, which is very tough to do when you're on a 12-month cycle. And particularly this year, the folks at 2K and Visual Concepts really listened to the consumer and focused on that core consumer, bringing back a lot of features that consumers are asking for or from the past, like, for example, the auction house and the My Team mode. Working on different new like dribbling mechanics, etc. All these things add up to make the game just better and better. And the focus is always on engagement. And that's where the growth has really been, is that year over year, engagement has gone up. I mean, the engagement this particular quarter has just been fantastic. And that's without regard to the increase of 7% on units year over year. So that relentless focus on quality is really what's driving that success. And I said specifically in the quarter, my team's having a fantastic quarter, so that helps a lot as well.
With regard to direct-to-consumer, we entered the direct-to-consumer business in mobile immediately upon closing the acquisition of Zynga, and it's become a significant and indeed material part of our business, pretty much in just the way that we outlined in terms of the top line and bottom line effects. I've been saying for years that I expected the cost of third-party distribution to decline. I've also been saying for years that I believe the whole business would open up more than it has been. I do think the recent court rulings reflect a movement in that direction. It is early. However, these are all positive signs for us.
And our next question comes from the line of Eric Sheridan with Goldman Sachs. Your line is open.
Thanks so much for taking the questions. Maybe two-parter, if I could. In terms of the partnership with Netflix, what continues
all these are legit.
Key learnings from scaling games via Netflix as a distribution partner? And do you think there's any scale for Netflix to become an increased partner of transforming some of your gaming IP into more mainstream media IP for their video formats over the medium to long term? Thanks so much.
So our partnership with Netflix has been fantastic. Obviously, the most attractive part of that is that, number one, they seem very serious about gaming and have shown that over and over at this point, which is great news for us. And there are a lot of consumers. And when Netflix gets together and with the marketing power that they have with incredible content, which we've been able to offer, then that's going to be a great recipe for success. So we're very sanguine on that relationship. We've only done a few titles at this point. But obviously we think that there's an opportunity, again, on a game-by-game basis, for us to continue to bring titles to the Netflix. I'm not announcing anything at this point, but we do think that they're a terrific partner. In terms of other media, that's an area where we have done some deals in the past. We are doing a BioShock movie with Netflix. So we are looking at things like that opportunity, but I wouldn't say that's driving the partnership. That's sort of a nice to have, not necessarily a must to have for the partnership. But when you can bring that kind of synergy value to the table, obviously that's always a strong consideration and a nice thing for us to do.
Great, thank you.
And our next question comes from the line of James Heaney with Jefferies. Your line is open.
Great. Thanks, guys, for the questions. Just looking at your guidance for fiscal 26, can you talk through some of the puts and takes just on operating expenses for the year? Is it fair to say that we should just expect mobile marketing expenses to remain elevated and then just anything on GTA-related marketing costs for the second half? Thanks.
We expect operating expense growth of approximately 3% year over year, and that is largely due to higher marketing expenses, and that is for our current year marketing, for our current year titles, and for future titles. But we do expect to deliver operating expense leverage as our net bookings growth of 6% is planned to outpace our operating expense expansion.
Great. And then maybe just a quick one on your bookings guidance for fiscal 26. We did notice it is a more maybe narrow range than usual, so just interested to hear the reasoning behind that and what gives you conviction in a more narrow range. Thank you.
It's not a more narrow range than usual. I mean, usually for the full year, we give a specific type of range, and then on a quarter by quarter basis, it could be different, but it's not different than it usually is.
Thanks.
That you're seeing for the game, what you think is driving demand to record levels for this franchise. Obviously, it's one of the biggest franchises in the world, and how you're measuring this demand just besides trailer views. That's the first question. And then the second question as a follow-up on the software pricing. Microsoft, Nintendo, both moving to 80. Do you guys anticipate adopting this price point across any of your upcoming games, and what is assumed in your guidance? Thanks, guys.
Hey, Mike, thanks for your
You're
questions.
probably not really going to answer that one.
Look, why do I think GTA 6 is so widely anticipated? First of all, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the tenor of the question. We all do. Look, Grand Theft Auto 5 has been the standard bearer, not just for our company, but for the industry since it was launched. It's not only survived through 3 console generations, it's thrived, and here it is this many years later, and still, the number one title since GTA 5 has sold in 215 million units and continues to sell. And Grand Theft Auto Online, just had a phenomenal quarter, and GTA Plus is doing great. So consumers are actively engaged with all things Grand Theft Auto. This is an ongoing business, and yet, in terms of a new iteration, it's been some time. So there's enormous anticipation on the one hand. On the other hand, it's still fresh. It's still in market. So, everyone anticipates the next James Bond movie, but there's nothing in between. What you have in your head is what you saw the last time around. In this case, everyone anticipates the next iteration of Grand Theft Auto, and lots of people are currently engaged today with Grand Theft Auto today. So I think that's one sign. Obviously, 475 million trailer views in 24 hours tells you something. It's not just that, wow, that was a great trailer. It tells you something more than that. And we, of course, do market research around here. And the market research that we've done is pretty astonishing. But look, we're not in the business of claiming success until it happens. All we're focused on is making the best possible entertainment here. That's all that Rockstar is focusing on. That's our job. The rest will take care of itself. In terms of pricing, we obviously don't talk about specific pricing here. Pricing is set at the label level. In the context of the individual release, we have had variable pricing here for a very long time. And as I said earlier in the call, we want to focus on value. We want to deliver way, way, way more value to a consumer than whatever that consumer pays. That's our job. We have to do that job. And that's our focus, not on what the top line price is.
Thank you, Strauss. Good luck, guys.
And our next question comes from the line of Brian Pitts with BMO Capital Markets. Your line is open.
Yeah, thanks for the question. On console price increases to the gaming ecosystem, any impact on your guide for this year? And if so, maybe help us size that impact. And then looking at the nearly $2 billion of software development costs on the balance sheet for capitalizing games and development, any color you could provide us what percent is related to GTA 6 versus other titles? Thanks.
Look, our guide is for the next 10 months essentially. That's the part of the fiscal year that hasn't elapsed yet, and It's very difficult to predict where tariffs will land, given how things have bumped around so far. We feel reasonably confident that our guide wouldn't be meaningfully affected unless tariffs ran off in a very different direction than we currently expect. In any case, there's already a very substantial installed base for all of our target platforms except Nintendo Switch 2, which is yet to be launched. And so we have, I think, enough insight that we wouldn't be meaningfully affected by any changes.
And for the balance sheet, the $2 billion of development costs, it really is supporting our extremely robust release schedule that we talked about for the next few years, and we don't discuss on a title by title basis.
Thanks, everyone.
And our next question comes from Martin Yang with Oppenheimer. Your line is open.
Hi, thank you for taking the question. One question is about the internal royalty line in the COGS breakdown. Can you maybe talk about the year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter increase? What drove that? Is that related to any milestone achieved with Rockstar? Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? We had trouble understanding you.
Oh, sorry. I'm in a pretty noisy background. Can you talk about the internal royalties in the COGS breakdown? A good increase on a year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter basis. What drove that increase on internal royalties this quarter?
Internal royalties, the breakdown is driven by the product mix. So it changes from quarter to quarter and also by year to year based on the mix of the business on the top line.
Gus is probably like, I can't fucking hear him.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our question and answer session. I will now turn the conference back over to Mr. Strauss-Zelnick for closing remarks.
Well, first, as always, thank you for joining us today. Obviously, this was a good news meeting and we're all super excited. All of the results that we have the pleasure of announcing here are driven by the many thousands of people who commit their professional lives to Take-Two and all of our affiliates and our incredibly hardworking creative labels. And I want to express enormous appreciation for the work of our colleagues. That work is what delivers the results. We just get to talk about them. I also want to thank our shareholders for their continued support. This is a great time for our company and a really exciting and challenging time in our industry and in the entertainment industry broadly.
Yo, make sure y'all subscribe. We're trying to hit 150 subscribers. We're trying to hit 500, but we're about to hit 150. Yo, make sure y'all subscribe. Watch the shorts. Yo, we be posting mad shorts, and we're gonna go live with every earnings call leading up to GTA 6. Let's get it.
It's our job to deliver. We don't ever take credit for things that don't happen. A lot of what we talked about today is in the future. We know we have to buckle down every day and deliver the results. Arrogance is the enemy of continued success. So with, I hope, great humility, we aim to deliver and over-deliver. We thank you for listening today, and we thank you for your support.
And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's conference call, and we thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect.
All right, y'all. Take it easy, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, yo. I see y'all out there. I see people tuning in, hopping out. Appreciate y'all, yo. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button if you want to see some GTA content, some all type of gaming content, yo. For real. Let's get it. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Probably gonna go a little later. Gonna be live with maybe some Precinct. We're definitely gonna be live with some Trilogy RP. 5M. We're gonna be live on there. We're gonna be hitting that shit up. It's gonna be fire. Appreciate y'all tuning in, yo, for real. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.